We've got a jam-packed Thursday show today. I'm excited. Listen, Muench, we've had some amazing guests, right? Like from David Pollack to Joel Klatt to Jim Nagy, Stanford Steve, Pete Thamel. There's just too much to get to today. So we're going to have to ride solo. I hope you're good with that. We're going to kick things off. We've been kind of previewing this the last few weeks. We've got to get to Cam Ward. We had a great conversation with Jim Nagy about how NFL teams maybe don't see that first-round grade, that it's the fastest rising player in the draft, but maybe he's not round one. Maybe it's more round two. Well, I did a deep dive into Cam Ward's tape. I know Muench did as well. We're going to get into that. Then we've got the biggest game of the weekend, Alabama-LSU. We're going to break that game down, both sides of the ball. NFL prospects in that game. Got a lot of help from FanDuel, too. Thank goodness FanDuel is with us here. Going to talk about winners there, potentially. Also get into the spreads and different ways to play that game. Then our favorite segment of the week, that's Muh-Guy, followed by Where Are Scouts this week? And then we've got a special Baton Rouge edition of Where Would Todd Be this week? I promise you, of all the segments we've done, I'm most excited about this one. We're going to lay it all out for you. It's some public service. You got to tune into that. It's week 11 in college football, week 10 in the NFL, and just 170 days until the NFL draft. You good, Muench?
I'm good, man.
All right, let's roll that music. Muench, we've been talking about Cam Ward, right? I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to call it breaking news, but like you and I were kind of sitting here, and it was a 3-buck,
right.
Nagy in the middle, and he comes on, and we've been talking all along, like Cam Ward, what a great year.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward with Shedeur Sanders, right?
Right.
Top two quarterbacks, and maybe Garrett Nussmeier from LSU.
Right.
Cam Ward this, Cam Ward that. He kind of came in and said, pump the brakes. And I'm looking at you up in the screen, and I'm like,
You're right.
Okay, let's go back to work. Because I at that point, and I told you from the start, we're going to be transparent. This show is going to be about peeling back the curtain. Okay. I'm not here to if I've watched every single throw and you can't. I can't stand when I hear people say I've watched every throw from every quarter. There's not enough time in the week. There's not enough. So it's a process. It's a 15-month process with these guys.
Right.
You get to certain players before you get to other players. It's not all equal. I watched Cam Ward versus Florida. Tape was awesome.
Right.
I hadn't studied the rest of the tape so far this year. Hadn't gone back and revisited our report from previous years. So I just felt like it was time, right? The 9-0 Miami. Cam Ward's playing Heisman Trophy talk. He's playing great ball. Let's see where he is in our opinions. Then I also got on my phone. I texted a bunch of guys in the league. I calls up to this morning. Got back from working out. As I'm walking in, I'm breathing heavy. One of our good friends that you and I know, I'm not going to mention names, got on the phone with him. Had to apologize for breathing heavy. It was kind of awkward. But anyway, we went through a lot of sources, and most importantly, I wanted to dive in and give my opinion on what I saw. And when you look at Cam Ward, the best way I can present it to you, right, Muench? And I'll see if you can agree. You ever seen an electrical storm? I mean, I know you have, right?
So funny you're saying this. Go ahead. Yeah, I have.
An electrical storm in the summer, right?
We have not talked about this, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay. When you watch an electrical storm, it's kind of different. It's exciting. It's, like you're used to the vertical flashes of lightning, right? And now all of a sudden there's like these horizontal flashes. They're up in the clouds. They're like left, right, and all of a sudden you're watching. It's like, wow, this is wild. This is exciting. This is something
like
kind of new and different than the typical, right?
Yeah.
And then you're kind of your neck's getting sore because you're looking and this and that, right? When I'm watching Cam Ward on tape, that's the experience. It's like watching an electrical storm, because when you're done with it, you're like, wow, that was a lot to see.
Right.
There's some exciting stuff in there. But what the hell?
I'm not the poet you are, but that was the word I wrote down was electric. So it's funny that that's the direction you went in.
But when you're done watching an electrical storm, your neck hurts a little bit. And you're like, this is exciting. This is different. This is new. But then you're done watching it and you go back to your day-to-day. And I've always walked away being like, what the hell did I just see?
Right.
I've got a lot to unpack. To me, that's the Cam Ward experience. It's like watching an electrical storm. And
It's also a little dangerous, right? It's a little dangerous. You don't want to get too
like,
close,
are we okay? Are we okay?
Yeah, right.
They're not striking down. So like, I think we're safe, but like,
right.
And so it's not about tempo. Some guys you get done watching and you're exhausted because it's like play after, and like they're running and there's not a lot of pre-snap reads and it's more about getting off a number of plays rather than running the most effective plays. Cam Ward's tape, like occasionally they'll throw in some tempo, but they get to the line. Like when you're watching tape, coach's copy, right?
Right.
You get, some teams, it's like right away, ball snapped. And so there's not much, like there's not that 3, 4, 5 second window in the beginning. With Cam Ward's tape, they're spread out. Like against Duke this past week, they were 3 by 2, a lot of empty sets, 3 receivers one side, 2 to the other. Sometimes diamond, 4 by 1, 4 receiver sets. I saw diamond set early in the game versus 1 receiver on the opposite side.
Right.
They get to the line of scrimmage and it's measured. So you're like, so as an evaluator, when you're watching tape, you get the clicker in your hand and you kind of fast forwarding that first 4 or 5 seconds. You see Cam Ward, he's calling out the mic and getting the protection set and barking out orders and signals and stuff. So that's not the wild ride of the experience. It's from snap. It's from snap to whistle, right?
Right.
And it's like, wow.
It puts on a show.
Puts on a show.
We've already talked about this throw, but that throw in the Louisville game where he's drifting to, or was it the Louisville game where he's drifting to his left and he hit the guy in the back of the end zone coming across right? Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that throw, but
40 something. So with that as the backdrop, the electrical storm is the Cam Ward tape studying experience, in my opinion. I want to get into what I loved and I want to get into what scares me. And I think those are appropriate words. You get wowed. There's a whole column here of like the things that wowed me with Cam Ward. And then I got another column, and it's not like the negatives or the weaknesses. It's what scares you.
Where can you get better? Yeah.
Where can you, but and not scared like, oh, you can't do it. It's not a can't do it. It's like, what do we have to work on? I got news for you. One of the biggest split columns I've ever had in scouting with things that like most people can't do, exciting, love, and then the right side being like, I'm really scared about this. Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So, and everyone relax. I'm not comparing him to Patrick.
You got to be careful with that, man. You keep doing it.
That's why I always have to preface it. But I'm just saying, like, even the great Josh Allen.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Long list of what you love. Long list coming out of Wyoming of what scared you. So Cam Ward, right? Let's start with the stuff that really stands out. Okay. Let's just drill in a little bit here.
Okay.
Human laser show is what I wrote down. His ability to just like it's a laser show,
right?
His ability to just snap his wrist, and so sometimes he's to get the ball back here and he's a little dangling a little bit, but when he goes like and flicks that wrist,
oh yeah,
it just snaps off his hand.
Comes out different, right?
Right, and then the different arm angles, the ability to adjust his arm angles, and throwing off platform, throwing off balance, and just I probably wrote down drilled it. Like 90 times, because I went through all these tapes, just drilling the ball wherever he wants to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you look for all these prospects. What's the special sauce? What makes him unique? I'm not saying he has the best arm. He doesn't have Josh Allen's arm. I'm not saying that he has the, an elite arm, but he's got a damn good arm. And the way he snaps the ball off and it makes throws where you don't think he's going to be able to fit it in, and he fits it in. That's special. Okay.
Right.
Second thing to me that stands out, that's special, elite football instincts. He's not an elite athlete. He's mobile.
No.
But he's not an elite. He's not as mobile as Lamar Jackson. He's not as mobile as a guy in the same class, Jalen Milroe, potentially.
In terms of a runner, right? Because I love his pocket mobility.
That's what I'm sorry. Okay. He's not as good correction. He's not as dangerous as a runner as Lamar, as Milroe, and potentially this upcoming class, as even Josh Allen, and some of the guys in the league that really scare you with their feet and what they can do. He's not Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Like he's a notch below, maybe 2 notches below Lamar, notch below some of those other guys. Okay. But I love his football instincts.
Yeah.
He doesn't get panicky. He knows, he kind of feels where pressure comes from. He, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, knows where to kind of move in the pocket to extend plays. He feels it. And then part of his instincts is not just creating and extending. It's also like that last second.
Finding guys,
this sixth sense, you hear like eyes in the back of his head, whatever you want to call it. He's got it.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward has got it when it comes to just feeling a receiver. And I wrote specifically knowing when a receiver's going to be open, not seeing him open, knowing and where to throw the ball to help that last 5 yards to get. Okay. So we saw all the same things there. Also, and this is where it's important, man. Like if you don't have connections, if you haven't developed relationships and you don't have the people that you trust in the league to call and make these have these conversations, you're not going to get who he is as a guy.
Right.
What does he bring? Right. And thankfully we got a couple decades plus of just developing relationships and being able to call. And the conversations I had were really impressive about his football character, football intelligence. Some of the quotes I got: he's a grinder. Love the way he leads because he demands from his teammates, not expects, not wants, demands from his teammates. So that's in that at the quarterback position. There's no position where it's more important than to have those qualities. So check that box off.
Right.
And then improvement. Okay, this is a big one, and I'll preface this. I stumbled upon this. I haven't even looked in our Exos catapult. I haven't even looked in our Exos and catapult system to see if there's incarnate word tape yet. But but I was sitting around yesterday and for some reason, like it was like a blessing from the football gods above. I'm scrolling through YouTube and this thing comes up like 10 touchdown passes from Cam Ward in the FCS playoffs at Incarnate Word. And I was like, yeah, I got 9 minutes. The hell else am I going to do for the next 9 minutes? That's more important than watching. I hadn't even thought. I was like, I'm just focusing on this year. It was fascinating to watch, man. I don't know if you've done it. Take a look at.
I haven't seen it now.
Okay, I'll just give you. So it is pure air raid. Okay. Go back to Incarnate Word. Remember, 2 years at Incarnate Word, 2 years at Washington State. Makes the announcement he's going to the NFL draft. Doesn't get the grade he wants. Day 3 grade. And calls up Mario Cristobal and says, you know what, that offer you gave that I turned down because I'm going to the draft, I want that offer. It comes to Miami. So it starts at Incarnate Word, not a highly recruited player. And to be honest with you, I don't know the high school ball he played. I can kind of see why. It was like watching like Graham Harrell at Texas Tech, Kingsbury, remember those quarterbacks where it's like, watching shortstop, middle infielders. The snap is the toss from the other middle infielder. It's like, like this side up, get it out. Like not even the laces, doesn't matter. Get it out. A lot of RPOs, quick game, just stuff that didn't translate to the NFL. Right. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, my God, this guy has come a long way. I'm not saying he wasn't a special talent, but it wasn't translatable. Right. It wasn't. And so when you talk to NFL scouts, I do wonder, some stuff's hard to unsee. Oh, right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, but he's that guy who was just like, catch the ball, sidearm, get it out. And so the good news is like the first tape, it was Washington State, which was a lot of air raid as well. But this has had some air raid principles now at Miami, but it's a lot more translatable pro style stuff. Agree. And so it was just interesting watching that, because the guy I was watching on YouTube yesterday for 9 minutes is not the guy today. And so, so why does that factor in? I just love his improvement. I love that he's played a lot of ball. I love that the system he played in was remedial, and then it became a little more advanced at Washington State, and now it's a lot more advanced at Miami. Okay. And then two more things that are showing up. He's not there yet by any stretch, and we'll get to the things that scare you, but he has made improvement in terms of like the interception worthy throws and the sacks. They're down from what we saw at Washington State. Okay. So that is the backdrop.
Can I give you one more positive?
Please.
Let's continue let's go with the storm theme, right? Mm-hmm. So this guy, you call him Electric Storm. To me this year, think about this. He's always been the eye of the storm. He's always the calmest guy. Virginia Tech, game-winning touchdown, less than 2 minutes. Cal, down 35-10 midway through the third quarter, I think. Throws the game-winning touchdown with less than 30 seconds on the road. They're playing Louisville, probably their toughest test at that time because Florida just wasn't Florida at the beginning of the year. They play Louisville. They're up 31-17. They look like they're running away with this game. 100-yard kickoff return. Next series, they fumble. Louisville goes in. It's 31-31. You're on the road. And what does he do? Next drive, he throws a touchdown. They're down 28-17, third quarter against Duke. No problem. We're going to come back and win this game. I mean, I think when you're looking at the big picture and how poised he's been in within game situations, to me, that's a real positive for what he's done this year.
Those are great points.
Yeah.
And I love the eye of the storm. Way to advance it. No, but seriously, he has,
right,
because it's been a bleeping storm around him.
Right.
And it really hasn't always been the offense's fault. There's been some mistakes. He's put himself in some bad situations, but let's face it, the defense has put them in a lot more bad situations than the offense or Cam Ward himself. And you're right. The dude is unflappable.
Yeah.
It kind of drives you crazy at times because and we'll get to all that, but yeah, no, those are great points. And there's something you talked about the throw rolling to his left into the back corner of the end zone. The other throw that went viral this week against Duke, the 48-yard throw, it was play 8. It was play 8. Sorry, on the Duke tape. I was just looking down my notes. It was play 8 on the Duke offensive tape. It was a 47 yards approximately. It was he threw it from the exact 40, and it was about 5-7 yards deep. It got tipped at the end. Would love to see a little bit more trajectory. Layer that a little bit more, right? But like beggars can't be
a critic, right?
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah,
but if you're just purely scouting, like what's this guy's arm? That thing was on a freaking rope.
Yeah,
I love a rope.
Yeah,
it's like you know what I mean. Like it's one that a lot of guys can get it there with velocity and energy at the end, but to get it like not flying off the ground very much, it's like watching a fighter jet.
And not to keep piling on with the positives, but one of the other things about his pocket mobility is he's got one of those guys that's got that core strength to shake guys off too. Mm-hmm. He can make plays with guys at his feet.
He's like 6'1.5", 223, 225 pounds.
He's well built, dude. I think he's strong. He's got that strong base. Again, not to pile on with all the positives, but there's a lot. The bottom line for me is there's a lot to be excited about with this player. And I hear you. Let's get into the maybe what he needs to work on.
This is a good time to transition. Let's throw up that graphic we have of Cam Ward that we built. We do this with every player. We have position specific traits. So these are the quarterback traits. We also have, some other overall traits like, height, weight, speed, intangibles, all the different stuff for every player. Those we call universal traits, but this is the position specific traits, and we always color code it. Pocket mobility, I gave him a 1, even though I don't think he's going to be that very fast if he ever runs a 40. I don't think he's not a threat. But if we're just judging pocket mobility because of his instincts, and he is athletic, and like you said, the lower body strength to kind of extend plays, I'm not. We give him a 1, which let's state this too. A 1 is an elite grade or very, the highest end grade. Number 2 is above average to good. 3 is average. 4, and you don't see any 4s or 5s here. 4s is below average and 5 is marginal. If we get to a player, we're going to throw these up for players all the time between now and the NFL draft. Okay. And if you're just listening to the podcast now, I'm trying to explain it to you. The 4 QB traits for Cam Ward for every quarterback are mental makeup, accuracy. The third one is release/arm strength. And the fourth one is pocket mobility. For Cam Ward, the mental makeup is a 3. That's a purple, average. Accuracy, blue, above average. Release arm strength, 1. We just talked about it, green. Pocket mobility, 1, green. So that's as the backdrop. As you see there, 5th-year player, 6'2", 223. I'm guessing the combine he's going to be like 6'0", which means 6'1.5", and probably in that 220, 225 range, right? All right, so with that is kind of the profile for Cam Ward. Let's flip over to the stuff that's concerning at this point.
Okay.
I wrote this down. Never go broke taking a profit, and I kind of, it's like an old phrase and you hear a lot in scouting. and it just feels old and stuffy. And I think, and it's like all of us, like some of my greatest strengths are what's going to either kill me or get me into a lot of trouble, and has over the years. Same for you, same for everybody. I'm a true believer in that. Like, in order to be great, in order to like to do the special things that we can do, there comes some consequences with it. And so we're not going to see all those special plays, and we're not going to see some of the greatness and the brilliance from Cam Ward if he's always looking to check down. But there are times, and this is when he gets into the NFL, I promise you there's going to be a lot of conversations between the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, and Cam Ward about, listen, 5-7 yards is okay.
Right.
And so you see times where it's like, all right, he took a shot, he took a chance. That was worth the chance, even if it didn't work out. There are other times where it's like, dude, you see double coverage down the field, and you got a guy who's crossing on a drag route or an outlet throw. Just dump it off. Let's get 7 here, and let's get to 2nd and 3.
How many games have you seen Mahomes and Brady, the two greatest, right? Mahomes and Brady win by methodically moving down the field.
Right. That wasn't always Mahomes' thing, but Mahomes has matured into that, right?
Exactly. Just take what the defense gives you, get what you need, and don't press it when it's not there.
So I mentioned before, really improved from earlier in his career on the turnover-worthy plays, interception-worthy throws, and sacks. But there's still too many.
Yeah.
There's still too many.
Right.
Other notes. You ready? I'll just rip them off. Sloppy feet.
Okay.
Sloppy feet. Needs it drilled in. What you love about him is he's so casual. He's the eye of the storm. Nothing bothers him. He's got this poise about him and this confidence about him. Plays loose. And that looseness and that calm allows him to do special things. But there's a difference between having that mentality and having those football instincts and being able to handle the moment and just being sloppy with your feet. And Mahomes was the best example. His feet were disgusting at Texas Tech. I mean, how many throws? They were. And I've talked to Patrick about it.
Don't hold back, man.
I've talked to him about it, and he readily agrees. Like, it was just whatever. I'm out here playing ball. And you would see some throws, like 15-yard throws, where his feet were parallel with the line of scrimmage. We're working towards perpendicular. And so you see kind of some of that same thing. It's got to be drilled in. Josh Allen, same deal, man. He didn't just get accurate because he woke up one morning and was like, I feel more accurate. It was drilled in, marrying your feet with your eyes. He's got a lot of work to do in that regard. But you saw with the accuracy, we still give him a 2, above average.
Right.
With the footwork he's working. Yeah. So that's
those other guys fixed it. That's a fixable flaw.
It's a fixable flaw.
You can't coach height, can't coach speed, can't coach arm strength. There are things that you can fix. That's a fixable flaw. So, but it's probably going to take a minute. Took a minute with Josh Allen. Took a minute with Patrick Mahomes, although it didn't take that. But he had a full year where we didn't see. Right. You know what I mean? We saw Josh Allen year 1. We saw him on the field, and it wasn't always pretty. And it's like, yeah, that's the guy I studied at Wyoming. But then with Patrick Mahomes behind Alex Smith, he was working on it in the background. So we saw it with Lamar, we saw it with Josh Allen, we saw it with Mahomes, and we hope we see it with Cam Ward. You get into the league, you start drilling it. It's a full-time job. It's everything you're focusing on. I'm not saying necessarily you're going to get better coaching. I'm not convinced of that. But there's going to be more focus on it. So the sloppy feet, he's got to improve. I read. Here's the thing: he leaves too many throws on the field. Right. You see the brilliant throw after brilliant throw. You see that back of the end zone throw. You see the throw against Duke, play 8. But then there's like some in between stuff where you can skip over it, deep out, missed it, throw it into the sideline. A crossing route. He's higher behind the receiver. So and it's nothing consistent where it's like he really has got to work on his transfer of balance or his arm angle. It's not that. It's just drilling in the same mechanics. But I read somewhere 14% missed target. His missed target rate as a passer, 14% this year, actually a regression. Really?
Washington State.
Wow.
I know, but when you study the tape, if I read that,
I see the missed throws. I'm just surprised because I've watched the Washington State tape and I see a better player this year in almost every regard.
I do too, so
it's interesting that's the analytics.
I think it goes back to that electrical storm. you kind of get blown. You get lost in all the the great plays and the unbelievable moments and the handling of pressure, the magic show. It's kind of like a magician's always like,
right.
Hey, look at this and talk to me about this and tell me a story about your left, but don't worry about my left hand. My right hand, look at my right hand. I've got all this stuff going on with bells, whistles, fireworks. Don't look at my left hand because that's where I'm. That's where I'm sliding it in. Yep. So I think that's an interesting part. And then the defensive competition, let's just be honest, has not been great. No. I want to leave it with this. I can't wait, and I truly hope it happens because just for the evaluation process, if nothing else, I can't wait for him to play in an ACC game. Maybe it's against Clemson. It's probably going to be against SMU. But then more so, get into the college football playoff. Get into the playoff. Play at Georgia. Play at Penn State. Play at Notre Dame. Play in Ohio State. Like, I want to see 2 games against a top-tier competition because he's going to have to refine some shit. Yeah. He's going to have to be more efficient. He can't get away with some of these things. Can he adjust his game? That's what I want to see.
And if it does he start to revert back to bad habits in that kind of an environment? Because, one of the things that I get concerned about was every once in a while he drifts. That's part of the sloppy footwork, but he'll drift when he doesn't have to. He can just stay in the pocket. I think his feet have been a little calmer this year, but when you have a front like Penn State's front coming at you or Georgia's front coming at you, and things don't go well early, this is it's the biggest stage. Do you revert or do you stay the course and and play the way you've played all year? So we don't know yet. I can't wait to find that out.
The conversations I had were interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Nagy, not a first rounder yet.
Right.
Second rounder. I talked to a couple GMs, an ex-GM who's still working, doing the work. And then the third scout today. So that's like what, 6-7 conversations. Yeah. No one was lower than second round.
No,
the difference but there are a couple of guys that were like, this class isn't that good.
Right.
Everyone's overrating Shedeur. He's good. He doesn't have any special elite qualities. Like, these are just things I heard. These are not things I'm saying, but the conversation, Nussmeier, just now the negative, some of the negative things. Nussmeier needs to go back. First round talent, would really like to see him go back. Needs more ball. Needs to be ready when he gets up to our level. Shedeur, where's best? And I always give my opinion. We have conversations. It's not a Q&A session. Right. Conversations. And I always say, listen, first of all, I love Shedor's tape this year, and everyone agrees. Second thing I say always is he's the best pure passer in this class. Mm-hmm. Everyone, for the most part, agree. I got a couple, and Nussmeier could be, but I think he needs more ball. With Cam, it was interesting because it was all over the place. I talked to one scout who's like, I have Cam ahead of Shedeur. I talked to another scout where it's like Cam and Shedeur are at the top for me. And then another one had Nussmeier ahead of Cam, and some other guys were like second round. I don't trust him. I just don't. Can he break all these habits? And so they were fascinating conversations. But generally speaking, just to summarize it all, everyone agrees that like, whether you love Shedeur or not, whether you love Cam or not, this is not last year's class.
No,
we understand that. We completely Caleb Williams, elite special talent. Jaden Daniels, elite special talent, in his final year was the best tape of any of the quarterbacks. Of any year, to be honest with you. His last year, 2023 at LSU, was the best tape of all the quarterbacks in the class. Drake May, really great tools. 2022 tape was a lot better than 23. That made it a hard evaluation.
Right.
Is that regression? Is that the system? Is it the lack of weapons? But everyone would agree those 3 guys are ahead. And some people would argue maybe it's Penix, who went 8 overall. Maybe it's JJ, who went 10 overall to Minnesota. Maybe it was Bo Nix, who went 12 overall to Denver. Some guys would say, but I think the conversation, and we laughed about this, and Bill Simmons got his little, Bill Simmons got his jab in on me, how I'm here for one show and I'm already making his life miserable with his friends back home in Boston.
Right.
And I had to circle back and explain my comment. My comment was, I haven't done enough Cam Ward or Shedeur tape to like really state whether the conversation starts at Drake May or if it starts at Penix, JJ, and Bo.
Right.
And I will state this very clearly now that I have done the work. The conversation starts at Penix, JJ, and Bo. It does not start at Drake May. Okay.
Right. I agree.
So with that, again, is another backdrop. Let's pull up the graphic. I know our top 6 quarterbacks right now. Here's how I see it. And just for everyone's knowledge, there's kind of, from the people I talk to in the league, there's differing opinions in terms of like how high the level, whether they have a chance to be great. I heard Shedeur Sanders, one of the conversations I had, I don't know that he's ever going to be better than a stopgap starter. I was like, really? I don't see that. So there's just different opinions. It's what makes this thing beautiful. It is not a science. It is more an art. I get it. But Shedeur Sanders to me is the best tape so far this year. But I don't think there's a big gap between Shedeur and Garrett Nussmeier and Cam Ward. Okay. I think in talking to the league, there's differing opinions, and I think everyone has them 1, 2, 3 in whatever order. Some guys would go Nussmeier 1, some guys would go Sanders 1. One guy I talked to had Cam Ward 1. Okay. Everyone agrees that I talked to in the league. Everyone agrees. Garrett Nussmeier has a chance to be the guy next year and would love to see him go back to school. We got a great game coming up against Alabama this week. So excited to see what he does in that game, and we'll get to it in a minute. But Jalen Milroe, the other thing everyone agrees on, go back to school, get another year, be ready. And then the thing that everyone can agree on at this point, the season ain't over, and both teams are going to be playing in postseason ball. But Quinn Ewers, since the injury, has shown some regression. Carson Beck, the entire season, has been a regression. Okay. So that's where we are. Shedeur Sanders 1, Garrett Nussmeier 2, Cam Ward 3. But talking to NFL teams, you can kind of jumble those up. Nobody views this as last year's class where it's 3 guys that belong 1, 2, 3 by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
Nobody also, but I the more people I talk to, it's also not the 2022 class where it's like they just don't belong. Kenny Pickett was overdrafted. Pittsburgh had a need and they reached for Pickett. He was a local guy. Then Ritter, Willis, and Matt Corral go in the third. It's not that class. I think, honestly, it's a little bit more like 2023. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. We don't have – they're 1-2, but there were a lot of questions. So, to me, if I had to classify this class in recent drafts and compare, it's not 2024. I think it's better than 2022 with Pickett and Malik Willis and those guys.
Yeah.
It's 2023 light.
Right.
This year's class is the light, like you got Budweiser and Bud Light. You got Pepsi and Diet Pepsi or whatever, so to me, it's the light version. The reason it's light is everyone agreed that Bryce and Stroud belonged nearer at the top of the draft, and Stroud's turned out to be phenomenal. And Bryce Young, unfortunately, terrible circumstances, but it doesn't look good right now.
Right.
But after that, remember, it was Richardson getting drafted way too high.
Right.
And maybe that becomes like the Jalen Milroe spot because you're betting on the athleticism, the big time arm, but he doesn't have enough game experience. He's got big games and playing in the SEC and for Alabama and all the pressure. And certainly more than Anthony Richardson had with 12, 13 starts coming out of Florida, but you'd like to see more game experience from him and for him to develop. And then the second, third round, we had Will Levis and Hendon Hooker in that class. And I think that this class is a little bit more representative of that. You got a couple guys at the top, we'll see him Nussmeier if he comes out. And then after that, they're guys that really belong in the second, third, fourth round at this point. So
listen, I think we say this a fair amount, but this is the snapshot on November 7th. So if somehow Colorado sneaks into that Big 12 championship game and Shedeur gets in the playoffs and he plays his ass off and, it could change. Cam Ward gets in the playoffs and all of a sudden he's, all those concerns we had, and they knock off, a Georgia or something like that.
I think the guy that has, and we'll cap off the Cam Ward, and you're saying it right now, but I just want to put a punctuation on it. The quarterback in this class that stands to gain the most by having a good, eye-opening postseason performance is Cam Ward.
Right.
Cam Ward right now, The questions are the level of competition in terms of defenses played. Can he get it done? We know he will in the moment, as you talked about, the eye of the storm, pressure, no problem. Carrying that team. But against a defense that's flying around, the pressure's on him more. Doesn't have the ability to extend plays and kind of run around, drop his head and look up. When he's playing at Georgia, an Ohio State, a Notre Dame, a Penn State, one of those top defense, Texas, how does he react? Does he refine his game? Is he more efficient? Is he more decisive? Does he cut out some of the fat from his game?
Yeah.
So to me, Cam Ward, like getting him in the postseason is what we need to see. Whew. All right, man. That was a lot. But
that's a tight 35 on Cam Ward.
It's like it's been, like certain things eat at you in the back of your mind.
Oh, it's been coming.
Ever since that Nagy conversation, I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
We got to revisit this. And we just did. And I feel good about it. And the beauty is, like you said, it's November 7th. We have so much more time, so much more to see. Right. But I think it's a good, for this show, it's a good jumping off point with the quarterbacks. We've talked about Beck specifically at times. We've talked about Nussmeier, talked about Quinn Ewers. We've talked about all we haven't done a deep dive into Cam Ward, and I'm glad we were able to just do that. The McShay Show is presented by FanDuel. Get out your game day gear this college football season on FanDuel, because right now, all customers get a profit boost every college football Saturday, every single Saturday. Listen, there's no better place than a Saturday night in Baton Rouge in college football, and that's what we have this week. Alabama at LSU. Talk about the quarterbacks, too. Garrett Nussmeier, some ups and downs. Jalen Milroe, some ups and downs. Both guys being considered as first-rounders. Which quarterback, which team is going to show up in this big spot? That's a game that we're all going to be keeping our eyes on this Saturday. Boost your winnings on bets like spreads, over-unders, method of first touchdown, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/McShay. That's FanDuel.com/McShay to download America's #1 sportsbook and kick off every college football Saturday with a boost. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. All right, let's transition. Huge weekend.
Oh, is it a big weekend?
Huge weekend. Alabama-LSU. We'll get into some of the other big games later. We'll talk about where the scouts are going to be. But Alabama-LSU is always a huge game. Always, right?
Mm-hmm.
This time it feels like an elimination game. That's exciting. We talked about the ranking show. Like you look up and you're like, oh, Texas A&M, they just had their second loss. They're out of the picture. LSU, 2 losses out of the picture. Ole Miss, 2 losses. Lost to Kentucky, out of the picture. Alabama, they've got the 1 loss. They're hanging in there. But now you look ahead and you're like, if LSU wins this game,
back in the mix.
Back in the mix.
Yeah.
Alabama.
That's what's great about this playoff structure, man. If you were
agree.
coming into this game and I had told you Alabama's going to have 2 losses and LSU's going to have 2 losses 10 years ago, you'd be like, what a letdown. But this playoff structure, you're like, man, everything's on the line. It's going to be, it's incredible.
It is. And also for Alabama, a win here could bump them up from 11.
Right.
And I, like, as a fan, I love that Alabama. We're looking at the graphic now, the week 11, 12-team college football playoff bracket projection. I love that Alabama-Texas matchup. But if I'm Alabama, I'm like, can we play Indiana, please?
Right.
Can we play Penn State? Can we, so winning this game is you lose, you're most likely out. I don't really see a great path for Alabama if they lose this game. Right. If you win, things get really exciting. So let's pull up. I know we just had that graphic, but let's look at there we go. Our producers are amazing. Alabama -2.5 at Baton Rouge. I saw a projection, like one of those, the statistical projection had Alabama winning by 7.5 points. Over under 58.5. I thought I was going to sneak one in here, Mensch, but Vegas ain't stupid. FanDuel ain't stupid either, and we appreciate FanDuel for getting this ready for us. 58.5. Well, we'll get to it in a minute. All right. What jumps out to me? And we know a ton of prospects in this game, both sides of the ball.
Right.
Alabama. Let's start with Alabama. Both teams coming off a bye. I love when you have a big game.
Yeah, that's great.
Right. It's like no excuses.
Right.
And both quarterbacks, my goodness, do they need some time to like reset? Nussmeier coming off that A&M second half and the 3 interceptions. Jalen Milroe, everyone says there's some kind of injury there, but no one wants to report it. All I know is he didn't since the first half of the Georgia game. I haven't seen Milroe,
the same guy,
with the decisive, aggressive running approach. I saw him run a couple times in the last game, and I saw he looked good, looked better. Missouri took off, had that big long run down the right side. He doesn't look slow, but there's something going on. So the week off helps. Hopefully, if there is something that's knocking against him, injury wise, hopefully that he's 100% now. You see the schedule here: the ugly loss to Vanderbilt, the loss to Tennessee, and now you got LSU, the biggest game, and after that you got Mercer at Oklahoma and Auburn. Like, this is the game for Alabama, the game.
Right.
So Milroe, remember last year? There was the benching, there was the bye week.
Yeah.
Came back after the bye week, and he was a different dude.
Right. My job now.
Footwork looked more impressive. He looked like he had drilled it in for 2 weeks. And he was striking fear in other teams. What is he going to do this week? Right. How are we going to handle him? How are we going to contain him? So I'm excited to see that as a runner, more decisiveness and aggressiveness, and as a passer. And for me, you look at this LSU defense, so impressed. I even tweeted it out, and I looked like an ass because I've tweeted out. Right, what happened, right? Blake Baker, the first half, I was like, this is the LSU defense you kind of came to expect to see. Go back 2019 and years previous, that national championship year and years previous, just a bunch of dogs flying around, angry. I'm a backup. I get 10 snaps in this game. I'm going to give you my life. I'm going to LSU. A lot of these SEC teams, but LSU just flying around, feisty, no questions in their brain, just reacting, know where they have to go. And I saw that in the first half. Right. Against Connor Wigman. Right. And that's what they were prepared for. But then it was like a buzzsaw hit him. You got this mobile quarterback, Marcel Reed, gets inserted in the game after the interception from Nussmeier that he should have never thrown. And the defense, it was on their heels. Right. No gap discipline. Ends are crashing down. Linebackers slower to react because they're getting held by different looks. Blockers getting bodies on them all of a sudden. I saw the same thing, man. I know you're going to tie it in right now, but it's that mobile quarterback. They had so much to worry about. The guys were just no longer as aggressive. One, flowing to the ball at the second level, and 2, getting off blocks. So that's going to have to change for them to be competitive. And I look at LSU, right? Two games against mobile quarterbacks. That second half against Marcel Reed was an absolute disaster. Nightmare. Right? And then here you see the schedule being pulled up too. The second half versus LSU. And lucky to get a win in that game, by the way. Lucky to get a win. South Carolina, 36-33. They win that game. They gave up 33 points, right? I think that was the most points they'd given up. Yeah, 33 points allowed in that game. Otherwise, they've been good, 10 points against Arkansas, 26 against a really talented Ole Miss offense. South Alabama, 10 points. UCLA, 17 points. 21, Nicholls State, who cares? 20 against USC. But so the defense has played well, but the 2 times that they have struggled, mobile quarterback, second half against A&M. He came in, it was 12 plays, 3 touchdowns. And then South Carolina, Lenora Sellers, quarterback, 88 rushing yards. 2 touchdowns. So what do they have in store? What do they have in store? What does Blake Baker have in store for this defense? You've had 2 weeks now to prepare. What's the game plan, right? What's the game plan? 204. I didn't even mention. I was just looking at my notes. 245 rushing yards against A&M, and then the 88 against Sellers with 2 touchdowns. So I think they're going to be much more prepared against Milroe, but I also think Milroe's going to be, if he wasn't 100%, he's going to be 100%. They're going to go back and self study. A couple things jump out, and I'll let you give me what you're thinking. But on Alabama, when they're on offense, they need to stay ahead of the chains. One of the worst in the country surprised me, a 3rd and 6, 3rd and long, 3rd and 6+, but they're near the top of the country, 3rd and short. That's 3rd and 3 and fewer.
Yeah.
Which makes sense with a mobile quarterback. Like, it's easier to pick up the 3 yards. We can put in kind of that short yardage package, and it makes it like that's always the case. But to see that discrepancy, they're like in the 100, like 100+,
right? Yeah,
and 3rd and 6, and then 3rd in the nation and 3rd and 3. So they've got to stay ahead of the chains. They can't make big mistakes on 1st and 2nd down. That's going to be critical this game. And then Milroe's got to be more committed to running the ball until LSU proves that they can play with the discipline. You need, as an offense, Kalen DeBoer, I'm sure of it, is preaching, make them prove to us that they can be disciplined, that they can stay in their gaps, that they can contain on the outside, that the linebackers, as you talked about, can get off of blocks, can shed. Make them prove that. And if they do, fine, we'll adjust. But until they do, we're going to show a commitment to this.
I couldn't agree more. That is the top priority right there, is how well they can run the ball. But I will say this really quickly, and how well Milroe runs the ball and whether or not they say discipline and stop that. I agree on all of that. I will say this, that 34-0 win over Missouri is a little misleading to me when you're looking at that Alabama offense. And even watching that game yesterday, this offensive line for Alabama, I think, is talented. I think they have a talented group up front. They have not played well. They just have not played well as a unit. And I think that LSU, if you look at that first half, they have some guys like that defensive tackle Suggs was unblockable at times in the first half of the Texas A&M game. I think Braden Swinson, the defensive end for LSU, is starting to come on. And that Alabama offensive line, you're coming off a bye. It should help them too. They should be cleaning up everything they need to clean up, but they've just been inconsistent for a group that I think has the potential to be a lot better than they've shown so far. So we'll see what offensive line is going to show up for Alabama.
All right. The other side of the ball, right?
Right.
Can LSU run the football?
Right.
I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because it's like 76%, 76 to 24%, whatever the breakdown is, that they're throwing the football. And I get it. I love Garrett Nussmeier too. But I promise you, Brian Kelly's self-scouting and saying we've got to be able to run the football. Right. We can't live and die by the pass. We've got to be more balanced. They're 113th in rushing offense. LSU. Think about all the great running backs from LSU.
Right.
Like, think about the history of LSU lining up and running the football.
Right. That's what Alabama's defensive strength is stopping the ball, I think, more than anything else. So it's, they have those two great linebackers. It's a great question. Can they run the football? Go ahead. Sorry.
No. And it's more of a commitment. And so they're not throwing the ball all the time because they want to. They've clearly, they don't believe that they can run the ball as well, but you got to create, even if you're not ripping off 4 or 5 yards a carry, the defense has got to fear that. Right. It will change the game. And I think they'll come out and run. I mean, you think about like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Leonard Fournette, like this is you cannot tell me there's not talent at running back. And this offensive line is pretty good. So but much better in pass protection.
Our guy Stanford Steve was texting me this morning about these LSU offensive tackles, and he expects them to have a big game. If they're as good as we all think that they are, they should have a big game, because again, flipping the script a little bit, this Alabama defense, we've talked about it. It's a good defense. It is not the dominant playmakers that we've seen up front. I think they're better against the run than they are rushing the passer. And if these offensive tackles are the guys that we think they are, they should have a strong game. I will say this: the game plan for LSU cannot be to get into 3rd and 5 and longer and have Nussmeier consistently find Kyron Lacey downfield like they were doing in the first half of the Texas A&M game. That this can't be the game plan. There's got to be better balance.
You mentioned the offensive line.
Yeah.
Here's something that's interesting. I'm surprised you haven't brought it up yet. I like when I get.
I like that you got. It almost looks like you feel like you got one up on me. Let's go.
I wouldn't say one up, but I was waiting to see if you're going to beat me to the punch on this, Mr. Offensive Line guy. Dellinger's out. Starting left guard. Dellinger's out. The center is inexperienced. I forget it. I don't know if you have the depth. Center's
Chester.
Chester, yes. Chester's inexperienced. First-year starter, I believe. Been a little bit up and down from what I've seen.
Yep.
Okay.
He's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah. So your tackles are going to. You trust your tackles. They should play. They should play at a pretty high level, right? And Emory Jones has been a little bit more up and down than Will Campbell. Will Campbell hasn't been perfect, but for college level, man, they're damn good starting.
And the talent, listen, they play up to their level. They can dominate games.
But the interior is intriguing. If I'm Alabama now, understand this: Alabama has not blitzed a whole lot. Okay,
interesting. Yeah,
but I'm looking at a left guard starter, reliable guys out, playing right next to the center, who's a first-year starter, has been a little bit up and down. What am I doing? I'm mugging them.
Yeah.
A-gap, B-gap blitzes, right?
Yeah.
So keep it. If you're just watching the game on Saturday night, keep an eye on that. I think if Alabama's going to get more aggressive than they have on tape this year, I think it's going to be attacking the interior of that offensive line.
Yeah, they could also do some simulated pressures where they show pressure.
Confused.
Drop that. Right. They're going to.
You're not saying this new left guard isn't talented and maybe he can hold up, but I am betting on, and that's what essentially you're playing the odds, playing the trends, and playing what you expect. I'm betting on there's going to be some communication stuff. It's not an offensive line that's flowing together like a Russian ballet. There's going to be some issues there, and so let's force the issue.
It's like any great quarterback or offense coordinator sees the number one corner go down and this guy come on the field. You're going right at the guy that just came on the field. You're going to say, all right, let's see what you got, kid. I mean, we're not going to not take advantage of maybe a drop in level of talent or depth. So it's the same thing. We'll see how LSU reacts. Maybe they handle it well, but you at least have to test it. So
I'll say this. We want him to run the ball more. I think that's going to be the plan. At least they'll provide a little bit more balance. But at the end of the day, we all know what's going to happen. It's going to come down to, is Jalen Milroe taking off and exploiting this defense when they get out of position when Alabama has the football? And does he hit when he throws the ball downfield with that beautiful deep ball that Jalen Milroe throws? Does he connect? Is it Ryan Williams on that end? Is there another receiver that steps up and makes a big play or two? On the other side of the ball, LSU, it's going to come down to Garrett Nussmeier throwing to Lacey, throwing to Anderson, throwing to Mason Taylor, and most importantly, bud, knowing when not to.
Right. What are they going to throw at him?
He made a poor decision. Poor decision against A&M on that first interception. He got fooled on the other two. So if there's got to be alarm bells, and he's a son of a quarterback, and he loves the game, and he's grinded this past 2 weeks. The game plan's in. He feels confident about it. He's preaching to himself. Go out and be great. Go be Nussmeier, right? But also I can't make the 2 or 3 mistakes against Alabama that I did against A&M.
Yeah, he's got to handle the emotion of playing at home against Alabama, the ABC game at night. Don't get too amped up coming out. Now, I think it helps that you just went to Texas A&M, and I know that it obviously unraveled on him in the second half, but he's had some experience playing in these loud, big time games, environments. I think that might help him a little bit, but especially early, I want to see how he does, because he's amped to get out there and erase everything that happened in his last game. Show people that he's what kind of quarterback he is when he's playing at his best. So to me, how does he control emotions early? Don't press early. Don't make a mistake early.
I don't have any FanDuel read here or anything, but we had a great conversation with FanDuel the other day, and we both have their app. Yeah. We're both going to get involved. I'm never going to sit here and tell you, and Muench isn't going to. Muench, sure hope he's not going to start giving out picks and plays. But
no.
But the at FD Sportsbook, go check it out. Their game of the week for FanDuel is this game, Alabama-LSU. Of course it is. Saturday night, Baton Rouge. You kidding me? What's a better place in the world to be this Saturday night? And I'm not going to be there, and I'm pissed. But I all week, I'm looking at this game shootout. LSU undisciplined versus the run. Jalen Milroe is gonna take off. That 58.5 is high. Yeah, they're just begging you to take the under, but I'm not. I'm riding with Nussmeier and Milroe in this game. I think it's gonna be a battle. To me, this is not your dad's version of the rivalry. This isn't that 9-6 game in 2011. This isn't 2016 when it was 10-0, grinding it out. Great defense. This is more like last year. What was it? I forget, 42. I mean, there were 42-28 final, right? Last year. So that's what I expect to see on Saturday. They do have a great offer. I'll say this. And again, I'm not reading from something, but they have a 50% profit boost token. I learned about this past week. You can boost that thing 50%, man. Like, why the hell wouldn't you want to? You got to play. You got to play this game. Play some same game parlays, right?
Yeah.
Boost that stuff 50%. Right. So this is
I'm with you though. Life's too short to bet the under, man.
Isn't it?
Who likes to watch a game and hoping that teams don't score? You can't do it.
All right. A couple quick things before we get into all the stuff that we normally do on a Thursday. One quick thing. You brought up some great hypotheticals on Tuesday night after the college football playoff reveal. And I was dying to know. And my new best friend is this FanDuel group. Like, it's not just like the picks and the parlays and all this stuff. Like, it's a resource, man. It's
how awesome is that?
I love like databases or all the different outlets that we utilize.
48 hours later,
I can't get enough into this thick skull of mine. And FanDuel now is all of a sudden this it's a new toy that I'm playing with, and I love it. So they came back to us. We threw it out there. We weren't live, so it's not like we could call them right away, but we did. And by the way, by the end of the show, they'd already given us the answer. So from now on, from now on Saturday nights, we're going to be live on YouTube. The McShay Show live reaction show every Saturday night. Going to keep you up nice and late, 12:30, 1 in the morning. But we're going to do a reaction show every Saturday night, starting this Saturday. So please, we appreciate everyone listening, watching. I think I'm most excited about these Saturday night shows. Like if you, when you're done watching that game, when Herbie and Fowler sign off and you're like, I need a little bit more, my juices are flowing, come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. We're going to be on YouTube live Saturday night. But coming off of the reveal show, our instant reaction show on Tuesday night, you asked a couple questions and I'm going to give you answers, but I'm doing it through our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook.
Guys smarter than us. Let's
way smart. BYU, because we were saying okay, who would BYU be favored? Because I was making the argument, you can look at the strength of record, look who they've beaten, look at what they've done so far. Who would BYU be favored against? Let's look at some of the other teams that they are ranked below or ahead. And to me, the first question was BYU versus Indiana.
Right.
Guess that spread.
You have it in front of you
now.
I have it in front of me, but I'll be honest. Going in, I would have had, I would say 10. I would have said 10. So it's actually a little closer than I thought.
Indiana -8,
right,
against BYU. Not a lot of love here for BYU. I'm just going to go down the road. Tennessee -11.5. These are all on neutral sites, mind you.
Right.
What the spread would be, neutral site, and remember, round one of the 12-team college football playoff, you have home games. So BYU, it could be even worse if you're playing at Indiana, or Tennessee.
BYU, and they have that second. BYU right now has the bye.
Oh, that's right. BYU in this. You're right.
But they don't play at home. So even though they have that bye,
neutral site. That's why we asked for neutral site. Yeah, that's why you're here. You make us smarter and you correct my mistakes. All right. So BYU versus Indiana. Indiana's -8. Tennessee against BYU. Tennessee is -11.5. Penn State -10. I found that interesting. I think BYU would put up a freaking fight against Penn State. And then there was one other game. This is the one that I asked for. And I said 15.5 Boise State, Ohio State, neutral site. What did you say?
I think I said 10.
10.
Or maybe it was a little higher, but it was in that 10 range.
Ohio State -17 against Boise State. Give me the points.
I think FanDuel likes Ohio State. I think, like I said, I thought I'd just taken Ohio State in the championship game against Oregon. I think Ohio State's a team that might be, on the rise. But
that game would be in Columbus, though.
That
game would be in Columbus, but 17. I don't know. I think Boise State, just the tradition of being a giant killer. I'm not saying they'd win by any stretch. I'm not saying
no.
I think they would be a total handful and a pain in the ass for Ohio State.
Yeah, they'd give them a fight.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
What everyone's been waiting for all week long, Muench. Anxiously awaiting. That's my guy. It's our favorite set. Every week, that's my guy.
It is.
We got to focus on who are our guys. Who are the guys we want to feature? Who we watched on tape that have been exciting for us. And I'll let you kick it off this week. 2 guys each that have stood out to you on tape that you want to kind of It feels weird. Like, I'll give you a funny story. Reese Davis on Saturday. Saturdays is total gong show at the NFL draft, right? You get down the first night.
Yeah.
13 million people watching. Everything's buttoned up. You've got all these executives around, like hyper focused and all. Make sure you get what everything's got to run right on schedule. We got all these the highlights clips, and we've got to time everything out perfectly. And we've got all these sponsors and features. You get to Saturday, and it's like rounds 4 through 7. All the executives have flown home. You're sitting outside on a set. You have to beg like a manager to bring over, a studio. The studio got to bring over a table for all your friggin' notes. And so you get kind of sloppy. You're kind of there 6th round. And Kuiper and I would always, and even Louis Riddick would always be up there and like, oh, that's my guy. That's my guy. No, that's my guy. And so Reese just got and I get it. But he'd be like, oh, that's my guy. I like him more than you. That's my guy. and I would always look at him like, I get it, Reese. I get it. But that's my guy.
Right.
So there's like this, I don't know. There's something about scouting where you're always attached to, you got to understand, you put 4 or 5 hours of your life into watching a player, whether it's a guard from Weber State or a quarterback from Alabama. At the end of that process, and you make calls and you do the backgrounds and you look at their combine workouts and their pro day workouts. You've created this, like you've gone down the road with them. You have like an attachment to some of these guys, and a lot of these guys, there's a story with everyone. And so sorry, Reese, but he is my guy. I spent 5 hours of my life away from my kids and away from my hobbies and everything, away from eating great meals, studying this guy. So I have an attachment to some of them. So with that as a ridiculous backdrop, what do you got? That's my guy.
Do you remember Eric King from the University of Richmond?
I do.
Yeah, Eric King, University of
left
Richmond.
Tackle. Obsessive compulsive.
He was a guard, but so listen, that's funny that you bring that up, but that's true. So Eric King shows up at Richmond. He's a quarterback and gets on that Richmond meal plan and that Richmond strength and conditioning plan. And Eric, a year or two later, is a tight end. Mm-hmm. And then Eric just keeps growing. And all of a sudden he's a guard. And the next thing you know, the Chiefs are drafting him in the 7th round in 1999. And when you look at him and how his body changed in college, he kept getting bigger, but he never lost the athletic ability, right? Mm-hmm. Why am I telling you this story?
We're all dying to know.
My guy, Ole Miss defensive tackle, JJ, and this is, I like him because this name, I hope I'm getting his name right, but I just have to feature him. JJ Peebles.
Yep.
Defensive tackle, Ole Miss. He's 6'2", 325 pounds. He started his college career as a tight end at Auburn. This dude has 6 rushing touchdowns this year. They line him up at Wildcat quarterback. Who cares, man? She plays defensive tackle. Well, why do we care when a guy could jump out of the pool from a standstill? Why do we care when a guy could dunk, right? Because it shows how athletic he is. And then you watch him on defense, and you're seeing a dude that big move like he does. And he flashes with his hands a little bit, comes off the edge, plays inside. I mean, it's easy to lose track of him because Walter Nolan is playing defensive tackle at Ole Miss too. And he's a guy that could go real early. And then you got Jared Ivey on the outside. You might lose focus on this guy, but when you start honing in and watching him, there's a lot to be excited about.
I love that. And by the way, for all of those people that are, historians of Richmond football and studying guards, drafted in the 7th round, I did see Eric King like a year after college. No, he played in the we scouted him. I scouted him at the
NFL Europe.
NFL Europe. Yeah. I scouted. Looked great there. But then I saw him like 2 years later when he was done with football. It's like a pin was like popped a balloon.
Right. He's running triathlon.
Yeah. Now that's his body type.
Dude.
It shows what football can do to your body. All right, I'm going to switch it over. I don't have a great backstory on this. Aeneas Peebles, defensive tackle, inside defensive lineman from Virginia Tech. Duke transfer, right? Comes to Virginia Tech this year. He's been quietly dominant for the Hokies.
Right.
Like this team, they lost a couple games early. No one's watching. They're a pretty good football team. And he has been a difference maker. I was watching tape the other day, and he just kept popping up the hands, quickness, 3 technique, getting upfield. His pass, I looked up some stats. Pass rush win rate was like up there with some of the top, like pass like edge guys and guys, like he's winning. And so you look for players that aren't going to be in your top 10 interior defensive linemen that don't have that first, second round grade that maybe can surprise that you can get a steal on, like maybe third round, that you can get a jump on a guy and pluck him away. I think Peebles is someone to watch. Only 6'1", 290, but like Grady Jarrett, like we've seen a bunch of dudes.
I like those defensive tackles that are 6'1", 6'2". They got that low center of gravity. I kind of like that frame. I know people are like, that's a little short, but you can get under guys.
Yeah. So he's a guy that I was really intrigued by, and I'm going to keep an eye on moving forward. Who else?
Second week in a row, we've done a Virginia Tech defensive lineman. We did the edge rusher Powell Ryland last week.
Oh yeah. I don't listen when you talk.
I know you just check out. I get it.
I'm joking.
You and my
wife. I remember. We both had edges last week.
Anyways, Indiana defensive end.
Yep.
Mikail Kamara.
Say his name again.
Mikail. Am I saying that right? Mikail Kamara. It's definitely Kamara. I think it's Mikail.
Okay.
JMU transfer. One of Signetti's guys that comes over with him. Right. Last year at JMU, 18.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. Right. That's nice. There was a good team. Now you're in the Big Ten. What are you going to do in the Big Ten? Well, in 9 games, he has 14.5 tackles for loss and 9.5 sacks. And I throw on the tape, and it is hands. He's one of the best hand fighters I've watched in this class. It's impossible to get your hands on him and lock him out. He's a little shorter at 6'1", but he's solid at 265. He could beat you when you look at edge rushers, you're like, okay, how do you win? Well, speed off the edge. Is there other elements to your pass rush? He wins in a number of different ways. He's got that low center of gravity. He's not the most explosive guy, but he's got that low center of gravity to dip inside. And when he gets to the top of his rush, he can win to the inside. He's got a little bit of power to him. But again, it's when you're watching it, and he's got also a really good feel of how to split blocking schemes, like just how he steps in, his timing of it. Very disruptive dude. But to me, it's his hands. It's just, if you can't get your hands on a guy, it's real tough to block him. So another guy that I'm obviously excited about.
Yeah, I'm fired up to see that defense. We'll get into that game a little bit against Georgia, but that defensive line, right?
Yep.
All right, my final, that's my guy. Stanford wide receiver, Elic Ayomanor. And I nailed the dismount on that. Ayomanor. It's tough, man. Number 13, I love watching him play. He's one of the 7 or 8 best wide receivers in this class. And have you heard his name all season?
Very, very little. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a little preseason hype.
Right.
Haven't heard a word from him. Well, that's because Stanford's 2-7 right now, and they've lost 6 straight games. And to be honest, to be fair, didn't get off to a great start. Who's the quarterback throwing to him? What kind of protection is there? How's the offense working? Didn't get off to a great start production-wise. But I've seen the last couple weeks, a couple flashes. So I threw in a little bit of tape. He's playing at a high level. Last 2 weeks, 15 catches for 204 yards. Wake Forest and NC State, okay? He's a bigger receiver, right?
Right.
I think like 6'2", I don't have the number, 6'2", 210 is what I'd guess, like somewhere in that range.
He's definitely a big-bodied guy like that, yeah.
Canadian-born. Interesting backstory. Canadian-born, okay?
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't got plenty of other stuff, including like the best trip in your life to Baton Rouge for a big time game. I've been really focused on and calls I've been making. Like, forget NFL GMs. I've been feet on the ground with Baton Rouge. But I did do a little skimming of this story. Canadian born, grew up playing hockey, didn't start playing, like dabbled in football a little bit, like middle school, but really got into it in high school. But like towards the end of middle school, like just became obsessed with it. Right. And I don't know how, like if it was a family move or whatever it was, but somehow from Alberta, Canada, I want to say. That's off the top of my head. I hope I'm right. I'd hate to displace him. But he comes down to America and is playing his high school ball first 2 years in New Jersey, and then winds up in the great state of Massachusetts, right? The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and plays his final 2 years in Massachusetts. And he winds up getting offers from like Notre Dame, a couple other Tennessee.
Right.
We talk about how Tennessee could use another.
Tennessee could use him right now. Yeah.
but family, and he's obsessed with education and football and the combination, and Stanford. Obviously, you can't fault him for that decision. Like Stanford, what parent
do a
would
lot
want
worse?
Yeah, most beautiful, maybe the most beautiful campus in America too. So winds up going to Stanford, and he's listen. We'll find you. That's the motto of NFL scouts. We'll find you. And Stanford, it's not like Stanford's like a Division III school. Like, yeah, but you can just see on tape this guy. Here's what stood out to me. They clocked him in coming out of high school at 4.48. It's probably going to be mid 4.4s. Good size. Two things that really jump out to me. Three, actually. One, contested catches.
Right.
Using his physical body last second.
I agree. That's his greatest strength. Yep.
Right? Contested catches. A subplot of that, if you will, like a subcategory, is really good adjusting to the ball.
Right.
And that's not just contested catches, but it's just like some guys, when the ball's in the air, they track it really well. They can contort their body. They just know how to get their body in the right position to make a tough catch. And he does that. And then he's vertical. Like he can make plays down the field, and he's not a burner. He's not like a 4.3 guy. He's not a 4.41, but with that size speed combination, the ability to get down the field. To me, he's a number 2 in the NFL. And for a guy that no one's talking about, Ayomanor, just like that's impressive. He's going to be probably one of the top 7, top 8 wide receivers taken. So
agree.
Those are my guys this week. All right. Where are the scouts going to be this week? I've got a question for you. We'll revisit it on Saturday night because we always get the tweets out. I'm sure I could talk to anyone down at the game. I always get those tweets that come out like, there were 19 scouts here and 2 general managers. There were 23 scouts here. I'm going to set the over-under on that tweet that we'll inevitably see, whether it's from LSU's, the SID, Michael Bonnet, my good friend Michael Bonnet is taking care. Michael Bonnet, thank you. The first football game that my son Tate ever went to was LSU with like Justin Jefferson, all those. I think it was Justin. Maybe it was the year after. Anyway, on the field, LSU, he hooked that up. And yeah, I'm always thankful for LSU for that. But when you look at this week, LSU, Alabama, how many scouts are going to be there? I'm going to set it at 26 and 3 GMs. Which is ridiculous. You think about a scout from 26 different NFL teams and 3 GMs.
Yeah, but it's not unbelievable. It's not. I'm not.
No, it's believable.
You're out of your mind, man. That's not my reaction to that.
So you're going over or under?
Oh, it's such a good number. I'm going to go over because I'm an optimist, because I'm a positive person.
I mean, you got Jalen Milroe, you got Nussmeier, 2 quarterbacks. You got on Alabama's defense, Deontay Lawson. You've got you got both the linebackers, to be honest.
Campbell,
Jihad Campbell. You got the offensive linemen for both sides. You get, Will Campbell we talked about Will Campbell, Emory Jones, offensive tackles, first, second round. Mason Taylor, top 3 tight end in this year's class. Kyron Lacey, LSU wide receiver. There's a lot of dudes.
Booker.
Yeah, a lot of dudes.
Guys everywhere.
So that typically is a game that's going to be loaded with that. Other games that scouts will be at, and I think the second most visited game by NFL teams will be Ole Miss, Georgia. I want to get into that for a little minute. And then you have a third one that I'm going to let you rip with that you would be intrigued. May not have the third most scouts and all that, but is certainly an intriguing game for you. Georgia, Ole Miss. I want to get into this. Tons of Georgia prospects, not as many first rounders and second rounders, maybe as we've seen in years past. But then Ole Miss, the defensive line, man, that's to me like the most intriguing thing. So you look at it, like Ole Miss defensive line has 17 sacks in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
9 and 8, 17. Yeah. That's ridiculous, bud. I mean, the defense has been there. Like, the offense looked good last week. Okay. The offense looked good really good. But the last 2 weeks, I guess, Oklahoma and Arkansas was it 61 points they put up?
Yeah,
but the defense,
I think,
the defense has been here. They've been lining up all year. Yeah. I mean, all season long. They lead the nation in sacks with 41 and yards per rush allowed 2.28. This is gonna be fun against Georgia. I mentioned 17 sacks in the last 2 games. Listen to these numbers, Mitch. The Rebels are first in tackles for loss with 94th. They're fifth in red zone defense, sixth in the nation in scoring defense, seventh in the nation in fumbles recovered, and ninth in third down defense. And then you got a cornerback. The defensive line has been outstanding, and we'll talk about the cornerback. Trey Amos is playing some good ball. 3 interceptions, 3 picks. We got a quarterback coming in who 4 of his last 5 games, I think 4 of his last 5 games has thrown multiple interceptions.
Sounds like a Monty Kiffin team, not a Lane Kiffin team.
And we've got a defensive line with Jared Ivey, number 15, on the edge. Opposite him is Princely Umanmielen.
Thank you for saying that name.
Umanmielen. Okay.
Talented player.
Princely Umanmielen. Talented player, number 1. So 15 and 1 are on the edges. In the interior, you're watching 2 and 38. 2 is Walter Nolan. He's had a great year. I was worried, is he ever going to quite get to his level? Playing really good ball this year.
Yep.
Walter Nolan, check him out in this game. Really good ball. JJ Pegues, that's my guy.
Yeah, my guy.
So, how much fun is this going to be? Georgia's offensive line been a little bit up and down this year. Some people think it's playing better than the credit they did, all of that. But
they better be able to run the ball too. I mean,
and Ole Miss is 2.28 yards allowed, and Carson Beck all the interceptions. This is going to be fun. Ole Miss feels like, and I don't even know if Trey Harris is going to play at wide receiver. But you know what's happened?
That's what I was looking up.
Trey Harris
is doubtful right now. Yeah,
doubtful right now. But Trey Harris, who after missing 2 games is still 4th in the nation in receiving yards, leads the nation in receiving yards per game.
He's got to be in the mix for wide receiver 1 when this is all said and done, I think.
I don't disagree. Big physical dude.
Great.
Yep.
The way he runs after the catch. He can run. He's got that big frame. I was hoping he was going to be back. He's so much fun to watch. So
it wouldn't shock me if he's back.
Yeah, finds a way.
We'll see. We'll see. But if they're saying doubtful, I saw questionable earlier. I was told there was a chance he was going to play last week. But my guess, not talking to anyone, my guess was they sat him out to get him ready for this game. But if he's doubtful, but my point on this, if he's doubtful, okay, I think their offense has been more balanced without him the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Last 2 weeks have been their best outings. You can say, well, the defenses haven't been great yet. But I think Jackson Dart, the quarterback, we can talk about him another day, but I don't see. I think day 3 you bring him in, try to develop him. But certainly very talented, great competitor. Operates that offense at a very, very high level. Love watching him. I know what Lane's looking for out of that quarterback. I know what Jackson Dart is providing him. It's a beautiful thing when it's revving. I think early in the season we got one
in the air.
We got one dude. With Trey, so we got to get him the ball. It kind of becomes a security blanket. Anyone who's played the position, it always tugs at you. It's in your mind, got to get the ball to him. And I think now he's been forced the last 2 weeks to maybe go through his reads and to trust the offense and to run the system. And it's looked really good. So with or without Trey Harris, this is a fascinating matchup.
I agree.
Georgia's going to come out and just throat stomp them, and shouldn't say but I can see Georgia coming out and be like, yeah, it's cute. Carson Beck threw some interceptions. Everyone said this, earlier in the year, but I don't know. This is gonna be a fun one.
Think about the defensive line talent that's gonna be on the field the next 2 weeks in those Georgia games. You got Georgia, Ole Miss this week. We just hit on that.
Mikail Williams at edge, Jalen Walker at edge, and off.
And then you got Tennessee next week. If you're a defensive line coach, those at the end of the year, show me some tape. You want to look at those. You're going to look at those guys. It's just an unbelievable amount of talent on the field.
All right, that's going to be a fun one. That's at 3:30. I'm not here to promote broadcast or anything. That's at 3:30 on ABC. You don't even have to change the channel. 7:30. Right. 7:30 is Herbie and Fowler. Come on, I think it's that's McElroy. Right?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So,
but you might want to change the channel.
No, that's my guy McDonough. I traveled with him for 7 years. That's McDonough, McElroy, and Molly, who's the greatest. Molly McGrath is absolutely the greatest. Best sideline reporter.
Good, yeah.
No, the best, and a great, even better human being. Anyway, 3:30 there. Don't change the channel. 7:30 you get Alabama-LSU, and then change the channel. Get on.
Check out Colorado.
No. Get on YouTube. And watch watch our live show right after. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right. So what's the third game you think Scouts should be at this week?
Colorado, Texas Tech is kind of sneaky. I mean, you obviously have Shedeur and you have Travis Hunter in Colorado. Two guys that are going to go early. Two guys you're definitely going to watch. And you got some other guys there. There's an Arizona State transfer at edge, DJ Green, pretty good frame. They got some undersized receivers. These guys are like probably day 3 prospects you're looking at. They have 2 undersized receivers in LeJonte Wester and Jimmy Horn Jr. They have a Liberty transfer at corner, Preston Hodges. You want to keep an eye on him. So even though you have those 2 headliners up top, and you really should just tune in for them, Travis Hunter's must-watch TV. They have some guys a little bit farther down that if you're looking for someone your team might get on day 3 of the draft, you can keep an eye on. And, we've talked about all these running backs. I don't think we've mentioned Texas Tech's Taj Brooks yet.
No, we haven't.
I can't believe that. But it just speaks. It's not against Brooks, man. It speaks to all the talent in this class. And then you throw on Taj Brooks, a big back, good feet, good burst, competitive, tough to tackle. He's a guy that you're going to want to watch. I also like there's a tight end for Texas Tech who doesn't have great numbers. He transferred from Arizona State.
Conyers?
He was at
12, right?
After the catch, man. If you're looking at a tight end that can really make plays after the catch, he's flashed. Now, I haven't seen a lot of it this year, but the talent is there. The potential is there. Be nice to see him have a breakout and have a big game. And then they have a big safety, CJ Baskerville. Good frame. He's a guy to keep on too. He's got 3 picks this year. He's a guy, a little farther down the board to keep an eye on.
I like that. In Colorado, come on, how good for college football would it be if Coach Prime, Shedeur, Travis can sneak into and it wouldn't be sneaking in. It would be a train barreling down the tracks.
Yeah.
After a slow start, everyone wrote them off to get in that Big 12 championship, to knock off BYU, enter in as whatever, 11th seed, 12th seed. Don't care. Any team, anywhere, anytime.
Right.
I mean, everyone, especially television executives and all the money makers in college football, that would be an awesome story. And to be honest, all the sizzle, all the noise, all the commercials, all the BS, right? Shedeur and Travis alone, what they've done, their level of performance, the way they've played this year. I mean, you could argue the best quarterback in the entire country in terms of the tape he's putting out there every week. And it's not even arguable the best, the most impactful, best college football player is Travis Hunter.
Could we would there any way to get odds on 2 Colorado players being Heisman finalists?
Of course we can.
Could they both get in? Could they
We're
both
in bed with FanDuel now, bud. We can. They
I feel like I'm just challenging them, just throwing out things.
Shedeur's going to get hurt a lot. I mean, they would have to make a run and all, and it still would be Travis. It would be Travis.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening. But I will say this.
Okay.
He's played at a level that he's deserving of being recognized or considered for any award, in my opinion. He's played that good. All right, Muench. Let me clear my voice for this.
I almost forgot.
So here's how I view this, right? Here's how I view our responsibility. We're here to enlighten people about the NFL draft. We're here to talk about college football. We're here to talk about the NFL. But if I'm being honest, there's nothing more special to me than providing the people with a service. And this week, where would Todd be? This is a special edition, a special Baton Rouge edition. Let's roll the, I know we got some. I mean, so nothing gets you more fired up than that. Where would Todd be? Baton Rouge. This segment is all about servicing the people. We're a public service. It's something we're thrilled to provide. Okay. I ask this question all the time, Mitch, right? All the time. I mean, for the last 20 years, you're out at college games every weekend, especially living up in the Northeast, where it's all NFL and people just don't truly can't grasp the experience that going to a college football game is. I was lucky enough. My grandfather worked with Bo Schembechler. I was able to go to college games at Michigan, some Ohio State growing up. So I had a feel for it. But I'll be honest, growing up, Michigan, Ohio State was the rivalry. That was the epicenter of college football. Okay. Marshall Brown, my grandfather, like he is what, like he put that burning fire and love for college football in me.
Such a great story. Yeah.
So, but then I'll never forget, like I'm traveling my first year traveling with Mike Godfrey, Ron Franklin. I'm a spotter who's like writing notes to Mike, cover 2, check out this receiver, one-on-one matchups, stuff like that. But it's my first taste of SEC football, and I'd never seen anything like it. And I've been an absolute addict ever since. There's nothing like it. Clemson's a wonderful place to go. USC's proud traditions, touchdown Jesus, Notre Dame, like the Big House, the Shoe, love but there's something magical about a Saturday night in the SEC. So my answer to the question every time people ask, I swear, more than any question about quarterback, who's drafted, this, that, the most consistent question over the last 25 years is if you could, one guy's trip, one family weekend, where in college football would you go? If it's like a bucket list trip. And my answer is always this: anywhere in the SEC on a Saturday night. But if you're going to hold me to one place, it's Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. There's no place like it. It never rains in Baton Rouge on a Saturday, like all of it. And the reason is the passion, the excitement, the like living and dying by it. But also when you get there, and listen, Ole Miss fans, it's a total different experience in the Grove, and that's a wonderful place, and they're beautiful people, and they welcome you with open arms, and you sit down at a tailgate with a white cloth over a table, and you'll be fed the coolest whiskey drinks and bourbons and just like and they'll love you there, and they'll love you up at Auburn, right? They will. They'll love you up in Tennessee and Knoxville. It's a different environment, a little more rowdy, but in Baton Rouge, they are wild. They're only 90-minute drive right down, what is it, I-10 or whatever it is, right down the road to New Orleans. It's like,
I made that right.
It's the perfect like blend of absolute party insanity that like kind of trickles down from New Orleans and what an SEC Saturday night should be. Okay. So this segment every week from now on, we did Acre last week for Auburn. Great restaurant. This Saturday night is always going to be about how would you plan your Saturday night? I mean, sorry, your weekend, your perfect weekend. You're grabbing a bunch of friends. You want to go down for a weekend. You have a family, whatever it is. So I reached out. I told you, NFL GM, scouts, all that stuff. The most important conversation I had all week was with Brandon Landry, founder of Walk-Ons. He and Jack Warner, for a little history lesson, he and Jack Warner were walk-on basketball players for LSU Tigers years and years ago. They absolute love for LSU, all things Tigers, right? They decided, what can we do this fun? Let's not go get a corporate job. Let's not go work in accounting or be whatever it is. Let's do something with our school that we love and have passion about. So they started this sports bar called Walk-Ons. It was just a local joint. And it's all over the South now. It's exploded. Brandon's gone on, and he's now has the supper club and really, like, he's an institution down there. And let me tell you, like, Brandon to me is a microcosm of what you get in the experience in the Southern, like true Southern hospitality. And I know Ole Miss people will say that a bunch of assholes at LSU, and LSU people say that they're soft at Ole Miss. I get it. Everyone's got their rivalry. But if you're just a guy from the North, from Boston, who's going down to experience a game somewhere, a guy from anywhere who doesn't understand the fabric of an SEC Saturday night or an LSU Baton Rouge Saturday night, like, to one of my first trips down there, I met Brandon Landry, right? And it's like, come on in, bud, and just showed me everything, showed me where to go, introduced me to the people. We're going from one place to the next. It's like a caravan of, Suburbans, and it's not like car services and all this rich stuff because you're traveling with ESPN. No, it's just like people who just like want to show you a good time. They're proud of what they have in Baton Rouge. So Brandon Landry has been a friend of mine for 20 plus years. I want you to understand this. I shot him a quick text the other day and said, hey, trying to plan doing the, where would Todd be this weekend? Trying to turn it into something fun where, like, I want people to come here and be like, all right, we got it on Thursday afternoons. We got to check this out. Because one day I want to plan a trip to Auburn. I want to plan a trip to LSU, to Georgia, to Tennessee, to USC, to Michigan, to Notre Dame, to Ohio State. And we're going to provide what we think could be the coolest trip, if you're going to make that one bucket list college football weekend trip, we're going to try to provide it. I didn't even give him that backdrop. I just said, trying to put together like a great weekend in Baton Rouge for people listening and watching the show. I'm going to paraphrase some, but this is a lot of what he said. All right. This is in text.
Paraphrase some. Yeah.
I showed you the other day. The text goes on and on and on. So he says, give me 30 minutes. I'll get back to you. 30 minutes later, I get this long text. It starts with the hotel you should stay at. Stay at the L'Auberge Hotel and Casino. Okay. Brandon was working on his text off the assumption we're coming in on Friday. But when I started reading through his text, I decided there's no choice. We got to go in on a Thursday. Thursday night, you get into Baton Rouge. You got to coat your stomach. You got to carb load a little bit. So we're going to go to Gino's on Thursday night. Brandon has no affiliation with Gino's. Gino Marino has become a friend of mine. Gino's to me is a special place, and you don't get much great Italian in the South. We're Northeast people.
Right.
It's like it's the real stuff. Let's pull up the menu here. The Gino's menu. You look at some of the things that they have on there. And what I love about it is you get the Italian experience, but also with some Baton Rouge in there. Like, to me, you got to get the Mama's special salad, of course. But then how about the angel hair pasta with crab meat, just to warm things up, you know?
Ooh. Yeah.
And then I'm a veal parm lover, so I've always gotten the veal parm there. But from the grill, So this is Thursday night. We can move on from Gino's, but go in there, say hello to Gino Marino. I actually had a wild night there one night, Muench. I'm with an agent and some other people. All of a sudden, Britney Spears' dad is there. Big LSU fans, all that. Yeah. And listen, I'm not trying to get into a Spears controversy here and the family and all that stuff.
Yeah, you are.
All I can tell you is in about 2002, it's now like 1 a.m. and I'm at some place, after hours joint with Jamie Spears, the dad of Brittany. It was a wild night. You just never know what you're gonna get into in Baton Rouge. That's kind of why I love it. So we're gonna come in on Thursday. We're gonna carb load. It doesn't have to be the wildest night on Thursday because we got a big day on Friday. So this is where we pick back up with Brandon. He says, depending on when you get into town, this is him working off the assumption on Friday, you're flying in. But he says you got if it's a trip with your buds, you got to get a round of golf in. Go to the University Club. Great track. It's LSU's home course. All right. So he says that's where you start. So Thursday morning, you get up, you got a full belly. You didn't party too hard on Thursday night. Friday, you get up, you play a round of golf. Then when you're done with your round of golf, this is what he says. You got to go to lunch at Phil's Oyster Bar. Great seafood. You have to try. I've eaten there before. Trust me on this, okay? Go to lunch, Phil's Oyster Bar on Friday, and get the char grilled oysters.
Wow. I love oysters.
I know you
love oysters.
I know you do. You've had oysters and orange juice before in a hotel room. It's disgusting.
I was wondering how long I was going to take. Go ahead.
So, and he also on a Friday afternoon, everyone's coming to town. That's where everyone goes. So people are driving in from all over the South. People are flying in. There's a lot of people, he said, that's where I don't care, but that's where the who's who of Baton Rouge will be. Everyone goes there on a Friday afternoon. So then you kind of nurse it down. You see the sights, go around campus a little bit. Friday night, if you want a higher end meal, tell everyone to come into the Supper Club is what he said. That's his new place. He opened up a few years ago. They source the food from all over the world. And listen, you think, well, this guy's a former walk-on basketball player. He has a sports bar. What the hell does he know about food? Trust me when I tell you, they had a setup mentioned at the Senior Bowl a couple years ago. With the food, they're walking around like shrimp wrapped in bacon, but special stuff, all the Southern stuff. Here's the menu. So here's what I know you got to do. The tempura sea. This is not the typical South, right? This is like you're in New York City, in Manhattan. But I'm telling you, it's from the best places in the world flies this in. This place is unbelievably popular. It's tough to even get in. So the tempura sea bass is phenomenal. The Wagyu nigiri sushi, phenomenal. Ooh. The short rib burnt end. We're just on the hot appetizers right now. Okay. Then you make your way over to the they get caviar. I'm not a caviar guy, but the prime cuts, the butchered house, the Sagara cut. I mean, from Louisiana, 35-day dry age from Ethel, Louisiana. And then you've got your Wagyus, you get all, but you've got to, they call it arm candy. I love it. With your steak, the arm candy. This is where they bring in the Baton Rouge, the Southern seafood, king crab Oscar, sauteed lobster, and seared scallops as the arm candy. How beautiful is that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So now we've eaten like kings, right? Now we're like, it's Friday night. We've had a good meal. Here's the thing. You've played a round of golf at the university club, right? Then you've had lunch. You go out to lunch. You have the great lunch at Phil's. Then you go into the supper club and you have a wonderful dinner. Class, like all class, right?
Right.
But that's SEC Saturday night game, Friday night before. Like, this is where it gets fun. And he writes to me, all right, back to Friday night late night. No other place than Fred's in Tigerland. So you're going to probably have a 3-hour dinner at Supper Club. Then you go over to Fred's in Tigerland. And he said, when you're done at Fred's in Tiger, it's going to be a wild scene. I mean, you're talking everybody with the Louisiana, the beads, everyone's running around. Everyone's chanting stuff for LSU. Everyone's getting all lubricated up for the next day. Okay. When you're done, listen to the detail he goes into. This is why I love Brandon. He's beautiful. On the way to late night, after late night, you got to hit up small sliders or canes for just a little snack because you got to keep it going. Then the late night,
I love snacks.
Go to the L'Auberge Casino all night long. You can go, and the spots inside there, and the best is right. And then you got a short commute up to your hotel room. Then awesome. Then he writes, you got to peel yourself out of bed in the morning. You got to get over to game day, assuming your game day is going to be there, if that's the case. And listen, if you're going to do one weekend a year or one time in your life and go down to experience this, game day there, you got to go do it. So you hit up game day in the morning, and then you head right over. He said right after game day, or go there for a little bit and then head right over to Louis' Cafe. That's where you're going to get your breakfast. Then the pregame at the original walk-ons. So like you don't stop eating and you probably don't stop drinking the entire time that you're in Baton Rouge. So you're going from Louis' Cafe and then you're just walking over to walk-ons, have a couple, Bloody Marys, whatever you do. And you're looking on to Tiger Stadium. Huge party outside, right? You get like a bracelet. It's not just inside. They have a huge party outside. Drinks are flowing. Atmosphere is everything that you'd think of for an SEC game. Then he said, this is critical. You got to walk through all the tailgates on the way. This is exactly the quote unquote, the sights, the smells, the sounds, the taste. It'll just all blow you away. He goes, it'll just all blow you away, Todd. Because this is what I haven't done. I've always been working on the Saturdays.
Right.
He goes, I promise you, you will not go hungry. Everyone will open arms, welcome you in. Everyone will want to know your story. They'll gladly tell you their story. Everyone will offer you food and drinks. The tailgate party outside the stadium is just as good as the game itself. He said, but then you got to get down to the hill to see the team and the band walking into the stadium. So cool. Then he says, get in the stadium early, big game. The hype is real. Nothing more special than being inside Tiger Stadium right before kickoff. The bands are playing, like goosebumps everywhere. Then he says, all right, back to after the game, got to hit up walk-ons and then Fred's again, especially if the Tigers win. So it seems like if they lose, like go to walk-ons, have a couple cocktails, talk to your friends, and then go home. But like if they win, it's walk-ons and then late night at Fred's again. So 2 nights late night at Fred's. And then Sunday, this I love. Catch Superior Grill before leaving town, grab a margarita to go. These people are beautiful, man. Like they
have like drive-through margarita places down there. They used to. When I was down there, they did.
It's not reality down there.
No.
So that's it. Like for everyone who's asked me over the 25 years, like, where would you go? One bucket list trip. I think we just outlined the best you can possibly do. And thanks again to Brandon. Like walk-ons, you got to visit. It's an institution down there. And the supper club now has become the elite of the elite. If you can afford to do that. If not, you got Fred's. You got the tailgates, you got game day. I'm telling you, like, I literally, like, there's like a special place in my heart. I get like goosebumps thinking about what the weekend is. Talk to Rosillo and Stanford Steve. Steve was texting me this morning too about like he's on the plane down there. it is such an experience. It's hard to explain. It's like a religious experience that you have. Like if you love college football, or even if you're just a sports fan, you got to make a trip like this once in your lifetime.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I'm starving. Man. I hope you're happy.
Oh yeah. What's for lunch?
Yeah, not that.
All right. This has been fun, man. This is what it's all about. This is what I love. We're back on Saturday night. Again, YouTube Live. Please come check it out. We appreciate everyone who's checked it out. We're here for all your criticism. We're here for all your comments. Please let us know. I'm at McShay13. Muench is at
Scouts Inc. Muench.
Scouts Inc. Muench. And let us know what you think. Hopefully you're here to stick around and listen to the show. But we'd love for you to join Saturday night. It's going to be a lot of fun right after this game. LSU and the 3:30 game of Ole Miss, Georgia. See what Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter do against Texas Tech. Talk about this Alabama-LSU game, elimination game. We'll be on right after the game, like right when Herbie and Fowler are done. We're going to jump on here. We'll be on for an hour plus, however long it takes to unpack everything that we saw on Saturday. So that's it for today. Love it, Muench.
It's great, man.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.